If you want news and rumors that appeal, welcome to the Dusty Wheel.
Hey, welcome back to the Dusty Wheel.
If you want news and rumors that appeal, welcome to the Dusty Wheel.
Hey, welcome back to the Dusty Wheel.
Hey, welcome back to the Dusty Wheel. I'm your host, the Innkeeper, and this is our live call and talk show all about the Wheel of Time. Tonight, we're talking about Tel'aran'rhiod, one of my favorite topics, but before we do that, I'll remind you what's coming up here at the Dusty Wheel. First of all, this Friday, Rafe Judkins is going to be on the Comic-Con panel. Yes, at 2 p.m. Eastern, Rafe will be on a panel with, I think, 4 other groups talking about future shows coming on Amazon Prime and IMDb TV, and we're guessing he'll have about 5 or 10 minutes, and we're going to be covering that live. We'll be obviously breaking away for the actual coverage itself, but staying live with you and talking with my guests that evening, Nameless and Daniel Green. For the first time on Friday, we'll be here together at the Dusty Wheel. So that's coming up, and make sure you're here on Friday, like I said, just about 10 minutes before that. I think 1:50 Eastern, be here with us. And then, just as a reminder, whenever we get a release date, Tel'aran'rhiod is going to happen. That's right. We're going to have a convention around the release. We're going to pick 3 days right there with the release right in the middle and just do a variety of events with a variety of content creators and fans, watch parties, gaming, whatever it is, some panels, and talk about what's about to happen and then talk about what happens afterwards. We can't wait for that to go on. So again, no official dates until we get a release date, but we'll keep you up to date when that happens. Okay, those are the announcements. Let's talk about Tel'aran'rhiod. And to do that with me, let me welcome my 2 wonderful guests tonight. Drew McCaffrey from Inking Out Loud, and we have Zool, or Dana Lou, as many of you know her. Thank you very much for you both being here. Cheers.
Yeah, cheers.
Mugs, cheers. Mug flex there. Oh, nice mug. I like that one. That's the Will Reeds, right? Nice.
Yep. And since we were doing a deep dive, I got my floaties. So
going deep.
Floaties were going deep.
That's right. So, Zool, this is your first time here at the Dusty Wheel.
Yes.
It's awesome having you here. If you don't know Dana Lou here, just join a Wheel of Time Discord channel. just one of them. That's all you got to do. You're so awesome to go around and help out so many communities on Discord. You're like the Discord pro at this point. I love how you do kind of like your 101s with people like new to Discord. You just need to come over and meet with Zool, and she will walk you through everything. So we really appreciate that. How did that even come about? Were you new to Discord too, and you were just like, I'm going to help you?
I was totally new to Discord, and I was overwhelmed at first. And so I didn't jump in right away. I came back a little later and just started figuring things out on my own very slowly. And so when I saw new people coming in, I was like, hey, here are the things I wish I had known when I first joined, especially if people come in and they say that they're overwhelmed or like, it's my first time, I don't know what I'm doing. And I say, hey, if you want, I can jump in a voice chat with you. We can walk through a few things, give you a few hints, and find, because some people don't know where to find different things. And the first thing you want to know is how to mute things so that you're not driven crazy by notifications. So
Right.
there are, and the other thing is that there's so many Wheel of Time Discords now that finding what suits you personally, what do you want from a Wheel of Time Discord? Because there are many flavors. So
I feel like we should call you the
I enjoy
librarian.
doing that.
You're like the librarian of Discord channels. It's amazing. You're like, where do I find this book? And you're like, what are you looking for? Tell me a little bit more about it, and I will help point you in the right direction.
Mm-hmm.
So, well, Drew, at the
If
very
you like
end,
this, you might also like that. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. And Drew, at the very end, I'll have you kind of tell us what's going on over at Inking Out Loud. Drew is a good friend of mine. He is, I don't know, I feel like you're like a Wheel of Time fact pro. I don't know, didn't you just win at JordanCon, didn't you just win the trivia contest?
I won one of the 2 rounds in the trivia contest.
Well, there you go.
I really should have won both, but
Okay. Well, that's it. Okay, that's.
Humble
Thank you
brag.
very much for those that are watching. Please do enjoy this. We're going to dive deep into Tel'aran'rhiod. And yes, I saw a question. We do have a Discord channel at Dusty Wheel. We do an after show, so make sure to check that out in the description. So Tel'aran'rhiod, the world of dreams. Why don't we jump into just kind of basic questions about it before we go too deep here? This first one was asked to Robert Jordan it was an interview with a Science Fiction Book Club in 2001, asked about kind of where it came from. He said, I'm not sure of when that exactly came to me. I'm not certain if I could point to a source because I cannot remember anything of that sort. It's quite possible that I read about something, some myth or legend somewhere that included this, but by the time I began writing, I had the concept of Tel'aran'rhiod quite solidified, you might say. And that's what's interesting is I don't know that he had all the rules of Tel'aran'rhiod, but I can believe that he had the idea, right? We get dreaming pretty quick in there. But I want to make this second note because we're a Wheel of Time show. Pronunciation. There you go. Robert Jordan at a 2003, I think it was Crossroads Twilight signing report, explained it to the crowd by saying Tel'aran'rhiod. There you go. Tel'aran'rhiod, if you ever wondered how to pronounce this word. Have you ever heard of different pronunciations on this one, you two? Or did you ever pronounce it differently?
I never pronounced it differently, but because of certain regional accents, I have heard Tel'aran'rhiod instead of Ron.
Sure.
So,
Tel'aran'rhiod is, I think it's acceptable.
yeah, I've always just said Tel'aran'rhiod.
Tel'aran'rhiod, yeah. Those are the basics, but I think this kind of goes along with what this place is. And Zool, I don't know if you want to read this one for us. This one comes out of the world of Robert Jordan's The Wheel of Time. And what is funny about this one is a couple of these things might not be completely accurate, but we'll talk about that. So you want to read this quote that we get about Tel'aran'rhiod?
sure. Tel'aran'rhiod is a non-permanent reflection of the waking world. All the mountains, continents, oceans, plains, and forests exist there, as do buildings and roads, matching, for the most part, those within the waking world. These things are all solid, relatively permanent objects, and therefore appear solid and permanent within Tel'aran'rhiod. All movable objects, such as bowls on a table, work papers, and food, are quite ephemeral, fading in and out or constantly changing. Perhaps they do not exist in one place in the waking world long enough to make more than a transitory impression in the world of dreams. Any food a physical visitor may manage to eat is likely to fade away before reaching the stomach, and as a result is unlikely to give much nourishment. Papers on a desk may change text and position right before the eyes of an observer, or jewelry appear and disappear from a jewel box. Only items that have managed to remain unmoved long enough to make a solid impression, such as fruits or vegetables still on the vine, may exist long enough for the visitor to use them. Whatever the visitor uses, however, will not affect its counterpart in the waking world.
Whatever the visitor uses, however, will not affect his counterpart in the waking world. So anything stand out? Thank you very much, Zool. Anything stand out to you there, Drew, about that description? We know these notoriously are kind of like from the world of Robert Jordan's Wheel of Time. This is like, if a scholar was writing something about Tel'aran'rhiod. Was there anything you thought that was inaccurate in that description?
Yeah, I think Moghedien would be a little salty about that description, given her encounter with Nynaeve and the fork root tea.
Yes. So the fork root tea, that's a great one to bring up, and we'll get into that question about the fork root tea. Do you want to just explain to everyone what you're talking about if they're not remembering that particular scene?
Yeah, so at the end of the Fires of Heaven, after Rand balefires Raven and the dust is settling a little bit, Nynaeve has her brainwave, realizes Moghedien must be in Saladar. She captures Moghedien in the world of dreams and forces her to drink fork root tea. And that's how, in between Fires of Heaven and Lord of Chaos, they, managed to keep her under control long enough for Elaine to create the unconnected Adam collar.
By the way, look, a deep dive. I just assume everybody knows this, but I'll put it up there. I forgot the spoiler banner. It's a deep dive into Tel'aran'rhiod. Of course, we're going to be ruining things in the books, but hopefully,
the entire series.
Thankfully, it was only like a middle of the book, and it's Moghedien. Come on. But thank you very much for pointing that out in chat. Yes, spoilers for the entirety of the books. But yes, it's up there now as a reminder. Thank you for explaining that one. And let me throw out why Robert Jordan, though, said that this one worked. And this is what changes the whole dimension of our conversation about Tel'aran'rhiod. Bradley Staples, who I know well from Theoryland, asked during a 2003 Crossroads of Twilight signing report, can you explain a bit about the properties of the world of dreams, such as when Nynaeve forced Moghedien to drink fork root tea, which caused the Forsaken to fall asleep. But within that same book, the wise ones tell Egwene that drinking tea will in Tel'aran'rhiod will cause no effects upon the body. Robert Jordan replied, it's a strong matter of belief. If you believe something like that will happen to you, then it can and does. Which is trippy, because there's rules, and then belief seems to kind of be able to break those rules. How does that make you feel, Zool, about our conversation we're about to have about Tel'aran'rhiod, when Robert Jordan says belief can make anything basically happen? Do you think that's true? Can belief do anything in Tel'aran'rhiod?
I think belief, if he says that's what it is, then, and we see some evidence of it, then if you have enough imagination and a strong enough will that you can force your will on someone else, well, if that person believes what you're doing to them is real, then it's going to be real for them. It's kind of what I'm getting from this.
Yeah. And I'm seeing a lot of people kind of throw this out in chat, it's just a weave, quote, it's just a weave. Tar, we might say tar a lot tonight, Tel'aran'rhiod, it's all about willpower and belief. Yes, I mean, the whole concept of being injured in Tel'aran'rhiod out in your affecting your real body is the belief that you've been injured, right? It's the belief that something's happened to you, and then that's translating to your body. And so I have some questions about that, Drew, and let me go deep here on this one. Can you use belief to create a gateway out of Tel'aran'rhiod?
It depends on the circumstances. If you're in the flesh, I would say probably. But if you're not in the flesh, no. Okay,
so from the perspective of being in the flesh and not in the flesh, and maybe this is a good segue. Let's jump into.
There's an answer about that. Actually.
Oh, is there? Yeah, go ahead and add that answer.
Basically, it's saying what Drew is saying, that if you are there in spirit, you can create a gateway, but when you step out, nothing will come out of that gateway. Because your physical body is not there, you're not going to step out into that place wherever you put the gateway.
Yes, that's the variety of kind of different ways to get in and out of Tel'aran'rhiod. Let's step back, because I know we've just immediately zeroed in. I have to ask that question. That's going to come back, and I see people kind of already bringing up some proofs from the book. Drew, you want to add one more thing there before we jump back to the actual?
There's another wrinkle to that I didn't I didn't really think about when I was answering, and that was, can you use belief to open the gateway? Not
Correct.
Can you make a weave to open the gateway? Because if my memory serves, that was what Robert Jordan's answer was specifically about, was creating a gateway.
Yes, it's specific to just belief itself. Without
but if
if
you've got that Perrin, it's just a weave thing going on, I don't see why not.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So, and this is going to come down to, like, how far does this go? How far can we take this? Let's jump back. Okay. I know everyone's probably asking some questions. They're thinking through their books of, like, what did we just answer? We just were giving the description of Tel'aran'rhiod. For those of you that might need a little bit more concept here of what Tel'aran'rhiod is, beyond just saying world of dreams. Thankfully, Varen gives us that one. Drew, do you have that quote? I can put it up on the screen. Do you have the Varen quote that talks about the third constant?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
So this is from The Dragon Reborn, when Varen is talking with Egwene in chapter 21. And she says, Varen stared at her as if she were deliberately being dense. Nothing? Of course it has something to do with it, child. The point is that there is a third constant besides the Creator and the Dark One. There is a world that lies within each of these others, inside all of them at the same time, or perhaps surrounding them. Writers in the Age of Legends call it Tel'aran'rhiod, the unseen world. Perhaps the world of dreams is a better translation. Many people, ordinary folk who could not think of channeling, sometimes glimpse Tel'aran'rhiod in their dreams, and even catch glimmers of these other worlds through it. Think of some of the peculiar things you have seen in your dreams. But a dreamer, child, a true dreamer, can enter Tel'aran'rhiod.
Yeah, this is where, if those out there that get steeped in this is where the third constant. If you ever heard of third constant, this is it. Creator, Dark One, Tel'aran'rhiod, which is always it's an interesting, for basically every space out there, every part of the wheel, there is a creator, one Dark One, and one Tel'aran'rhiod, which is really fascinating. Is there anything from that quote, Drew, that stands out to you that you think Varen brings to us that maybe is a little bit deeper than we're looking at it at kind of just surface level here?
Yeah, because basically the words surrounding them. I think there are lots of implications there, and this ties into things other than just the waking world and the Creator and the Dark One, but rather the mirror worlds and things like the ways and the gap of infinity, and the idea that there are a lot of different sort of realities in the Wheel of Time, and Tel'aran'rhiod is the one thing that ties them all together.
Yeah, and I love that Varen even kind of goes inside, surrounds them, however you want to kind of conceive of them, And I like that you brought up this idea of all the worlds, mirror worlds. Any place has representation, but that doesn't mean, Zul, right, that just because it has representation in Tel'aran'rhiod that you can get there. Are there some areas for people watching, what are the places in the Wheel of Time where Tel'aran'rhiod might exist, but you can't access it? Do you have any that come to mind for you?
The ones that come to mind to me are the Tower of Genji. I'm not sure how to say that. Gordion at first.
Yep.
The Blight, including like the Eye of the World, doesn't say specifically that I know of. Shale Ghul. But it's part of the Blight. Yeah. So those are the places. And I don't know about Steadings, if you can access them in Tel'aran'rhiod or not. I don't know the answer to that one.
Yeah,
Steadings.
I think they're off.
Yeah, Steadings are off
the
limits.
map too,
yeah,
for you.
Shale Ghul is an interesting one because we have Tel'aran'rhiod being accessed at the end of the books, right there. So. Yes. It's an interesting question, but it's that one again. All of these seem like access limitations from some other mechanism, right? Rodion was some kind of magic
it was
ward. It was warded, The steading, Jordan would probably explain that as some kind of like physics issue. Something about steadings themselves would cause a disturbance. Same way he mentioned.
I have a theory about that one.
the Tower of Genji. I don't think I used or got a quote at least up here, but I think there was a quote that I pulled. Let me see if I can find that. If either of you have it, there we go. I think he said about the yeah, here it is. He said Erica Sadoun at a 1996 Crown of Swords signing said, "What was going on in Aelfland when Matt went round and round and round the same location? Were they traveling in time?" Robert said, "Not traveling in time. The physical laws of nature differ. Mentioning the Dark One in Randland is bad luck. In Aelfland, it is really bad. You cannot go to Aelfland in Tel'aran'rhiod, similar to a steading." So again, I would imagine he would say that there's something about parallel dimensions and connections to them that make travel through Tel'aran'rhiod impossible. However, this goes back to need, right? So Robert Jordan just said it's not possible. Do you agree with that? And I'll go you first, Dana Lou, on this. We know that need can basically do, or belief can basically do anything. It's just a weave. So Robert Jordan's saying, no, you can't enter the Tower of Genji. Is he making a statement here outside canon and saying it's impossible? Or is he establishing in his world basically anything's possible with belief?
I wouldn't say that need would break the rules. That of those specific things that are outside of where you can go, what you can access. I wouldn't say that need would do that. But that's
so
just my
so
personal
we're going to go with
belief.
a hard, fast rule. I'm kind of
curious.
curious. Yeah, I'm kind of curious what chat believes. Is that a hard, fast rule? You can't, because Robert Jordan said you can't. Or do the properties of Tel'aran'rhiod present the possibility, and maybe it's not that easy? Drew, do you think it's just a can't here? Is it a rule?
I think it's a can't. Yeah, I think it's a rule.
Okay. Yeah, I'm seeing. I struggle with this one because I feel like some of those things, it was like, yes, this can't come out of Tel'aran'rhiod. For example, you brought up, Dana Lou, the fact that Brigitte was kicked out of Tel'aran'rhiod, basically by Moghedien, and brought an arrow with. Well, the arrow's not supposed to remain, but the arrow does remain. So isn't the rule nothing can come out and persist? It's a non-permanent reflection. Robert Jordan has said nothing can come out, yet the arrow remained. So is the arrow an anomaly, or is there something else going on here, I guess?
I think the arrow is tied to her soul. At some level, the wheel has woven her identity as the Silver Archer into her soul. And so when her soul is pulled out, since she had just used that arrow, it came with her. But that's the only explanation I can come up with.
Right.
Yeah. I'm with you, Drew, on that, because everything else we see that comes out physically, that's like in someone's body, whether it be like a thorn or a splinter, as soon as it's pulled out of the body, it disappears. And she's kicked out with her whole body, rather than just a soul, which is what way that the heroes are normally put their soul put into the body of an infant, and then they cease to exist in Tel'aran'rhiod. That's a fact. I have no idea how Moghedien pushed her whole body out. And the only way, I agree with you, that silver arrow persists must be because it is somehow attached to her soul.
Yeah. Well, but to me, that's those anomalies, right?
Yeah,
you have this anomaly to the.
I can't explain it.
And this goes back to, and we're going to step back again. We kind of dove a little bit deep on that question, which is a fun one, right? It's, can things make it out? Well, one thing did, and it persisted. So technically speaking, we could riff on that from a speculative standpoint. It's like, how do you make that happen? Well, and somehow maybe it's a weave related to maybe it's somehow related to the bond and the weave that Moghedien used to get her out. But it's a fun question that I want people to kind of basically play with, which is some of these things we're talking about tonight is it doesn't seem like there's as many hard, fast rules as we want there to be, because there's some exceptions to these. So, okay, let's step back a little bit. We're going to come back to kind of talking about the formation of Tel'aran'rhiod. We know it's the third constant. We know that it's in or around all worlds. And we know that there are places that can't be accessed, or we believe can't be accessed, but do have parts of Tel'aran'rhiod in them. It's just you can't get to them. Now let's talk about time. This is an important part of this when it comes to a discussion of Tel'aran'rhiod. This one always comes up, and the reason why this one always comes up has to do with a young boy named Oliver.
Oh my gosh.
And we have to talk about this one. So here we go. Let's bring this one quote. This one's from East of the Sun Con in 1995. Robert Jordan said, "Yes, time in Tel'aran'rhiod and the real world run at different rates, but it never runs backwards. You may spend an hour in Tel'aran'rhiod and a day has passed when you get back. Or you may spend a day and an hour has passed when you get back. But you'll never go in on a Tuesday and come back on a Monday." I feel like that last part's kind of simplistic. Where he's like, you would have spent a day. I mean, maybe it works out. I haven't run the math on that, but I feel like you could kind of like go in. I guess what he's saying, yeah, if you go in on a Monday, or a Tuesday, you're not going to come back on a Monday. I mean, that makes sense. This idea of time seems to be something. When he had this one, this quote was on 1995. So it's already a concept that he was sticking with, that's for sure. So from a time perspective, are there any other anomalies around time that the two of you want to bring up, or questions that either of you have about Tel'aran'rhiod and time?
So I've always thought about the dreams the boys have in the Eye of the World, where you get this impression that they're all having the dreams at the same time, or just about at the same time. And it does make a certain amount of sense that can work if time flows differently, depending on who's in the dream, what's going on. Like you have one instance early on, I believe it's in Berlon, where Rand wakes up and Matt is sleeping next to him and Matt is muttering. And it's very clear that Matt is having that same dream.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
But if you kind of extrapolate the conversation, it indicates that Matt must have been starting the dream while Rand was still in the dream. And so in the real world, those timelines don't work. But because time moves differently in Tel'aran'rhiod, it can work.
Yep. Yeah, that's true. Zul, go ahead.
So about that, there is a difference in time, and to me, that I always read that as they're not in that space in their dreams at the same time. So as in, like, they're not like three different places that are exactly the same.
Right.
That Perrin and Rand and Matt are all in. It's like maybe one after another. And so because that time is maybe compressed in Tel'aran'rhiod, or whatever. So that's what I'm saying. That is a way that they could actually all go to the same dream shard or construct or whatever, and not be there at the same time, while it seems like they're overlapping in our real world.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like there's no way we have three Ishamaels talking to all three of them at the same time, Like,
Right.
I mean, you don't know. Shamael he might have a belief that he's three people.
No,
That belief.
it's a soul.
Look, so this is
can't split your soul. I'm not going to say that. I say you can't
I'm saying,
split your soul.
why couldn't you instantiate another version of yourself in Tel'aran'rhiod that followed your commands? Why isn't that possible?
Matt, what are you doing to me?
It's possible. It is absolutely 100% possible.
Then it's not really him. You're saying it's a fake.
Yeah, it couldn't leave Tel'aran'rhiod. It's only going to exist as long as maybe his will for it to exist exists. I'm just saying, it seems like it'd be a possibility.
Really good to make it walk and talk in two different places where he's not, like both of them. Like that would be weird.
Yeah, I mean, I think I feel like it's something that hasn't been explored by fandom and should be.
Okay. All right,
so,
people out there, this is your charge. Figure out how it works.
Yeah, I feel like it can work. Time, an important quote that I don't have for the screen here. Sorry, everybody, I couldn't. There's hundreds of quotes related to Tel'aran'rhiod. If you go to theoryland.com, click on the interview database, and basically look up Tel'aran'rhiod, you will scroll for a very long time, and it's all very interesting. We're bringing up a bunch of the quotes that we found doing that same exact thing for you. But time, one of the things Robert Jordan said is, if you are with the person, your time remains consistent. If you are not basically seeing each other, your time will flow differently. So as long as the boys were not there, they could be there at the same time, but if they're not seeing each other, the time flows could be radically different, right? And that's what you're saying, which is, while he experiences Matt having a dream, that almost doesn't even mean that Matt's actually, like, Matt could be, Rand could have been in there for like all the hours of the night, and Matt could have just been brought in 5 minutes before that. We don't know. So yeah. Jordan definitely gives himself room to play with that, which makes the dream world extremely fun, right? Just like I said, you could have 3 Ishamaels.
Yeah, this is one of the fun things, a key difference kind of between The Wheel of Time and a book written by Brandon Sanderson or David Farland or something like that, where, it's easy to look at the one power and say, this is a hard magic system. But then you look at Tel'aran'rhiod and you're like, well...
Yes. Not a hard magic system at all.
No.
And Brandon even had a different answer.
Bring that one up.
Brandon even had a different answer about this, where he thought that that Ishamael actually, that he created something. That he was actually in their dreams rather than.
Sure.
I'm trying to figure. Now I don't have it, but
really?
Now I wish I had that one.
Yeah,
he said something different about it, so that it was. He said basically he didn't think that that's what it was. He didn't think that he hooked them out and brought them into his dream shard. Rather, he went into their dreams because it would be easier to do that with 3 different people than it would be to hook each of them individually out. Which I don't see that's
this is a good.
possible.
This is a good moment. Dream shards. We will get to what a dream shard is. If you just ask yourself, what's a dream shard? We're kind of slowly kind of piecing together the pieces of Tel'aran'rhiod. That's one of them. And we'll absolutely get there here shortly. Let's maybe bring that back up, because we can start talking about, at that time, just the different things, different kind of interactions we see in the Eye of the World, and how we explain those things that happen in the Eye of the World. But I want to bring this one up, because this one, let's step back again and kind of go down that road. We talked about time and the world of dreams and moving differently. The mechanics of the world of dreams. Let me read this quote. This is from Robert Jordan's blog in 2006. He said, for Napoleon Copland, the part of a dreamer that enters Tel'aran'rhiod can be thought of as the dreamer's consciousness. But it is, any case, not corporate. That is, it has no physical reality outside Tel'aran'rhiod. A dreamer might make a gateway from the unseen world to the waking world, but there would be nothing physical that could step through and exist outside of the unseen world. That's the quote you had mentioned, right, Zool?
Yes.
This idea of it's not a corporate person, right? This is that question. There's nothing that can come out, right, except an arrow. Just an arrow, and it can persist. So yeah, I like this idea. People always, I'm sure, ask this question of like, well, could you walk back out and talk to yourself, And he's like, no, I have some hard and fast rules. And that is funny. It is a soft system, but it does have some rules to make some sense of it. That's for sure.
Yeah, because if he doesn't establish any rules at all, the story breaks,
Right.
It's the kind of issues that J.K. Rowling had to deal with post hoc in Harry Potter with the time turners and stuff like that. Where she didn't establish rules, and then everybody started poking holes in the plot, being like, well, why didn't they just do this? That'd have been super easy. And she's like,
Make a rule. Yeah.
Yeah.
At some point it's like, make a rule. Yeah. And thank you. I just saw we got a subscriber. Thank you. If you just joined us, we are talking about Tel'aran'rhiod and basically diving deep into some of the aspects of this while trying to explain this world to others. With me here is Zool, as many of you know as Dana Liu, and Drew McCaffrey from Inking Out Loud. If you're joining us from Twitter or Facebook, this is the end of your sneak peek into this episode. We're going to be talking for another hour, taking calls here in probably about 30 minutes, and hearing what you have to say about Tel'aran'rhiod. But yes, if you're on Twitter or Facebook, come look for us over on YouTube. You can find us, just type in The Dusty Wheel. We're here. And join us in chat. There's a huge amount of stuff going on in chat. Yeah. Everyone seems like they're having a lot of fun. It's awesome. And like I said, you can give us a call. You'll find that number if you just come over and join us on YouTube. So, but yes, thank you very much for being with us if you are or have been watching over on Twitter or Facebook. And please do like this video. Like it so other, obviously, Wheel of Time fans can come and chat about Tel'aran'rhiod. Because who doesn't love metaphysics and the Wheel of Time, right?
It's fun stuff.
It's fun stuff, right? It's awesome. So we're going to jump back into it, and we're talking about now entering Tel'aran'rhiod. Let's talk about all the ways we know of that you can enter Tel'aran'rhiod. I don't know if you want, do you have that quote, Zool? It's Egwene, it's from the Dragon Reborn, chapter 27. It's which says, Egwene closed her eyes and tried to think sleepy thoughts. Do you have that one? And I can post that one if you want to read that one to everybody. If not, I can read that one.
No, you go ahead and read that one. I know what you're talking about. But
yeah, there's a couple more. We'll be reading a couple more right around how we enter Tel'aran'rhiod. So let me throw this one up here. It's from the Dragon Reborn, chapter 27. It says, Egwene closed her eyes and tried to think sleepy thoughts, but she was too conscious of the thing lying between her breasts, far more conscious than any soreness remaining from her visit to Sheriam's study. The ring seemed to weigh as much as a brick now, and thoughts of home and quiet pools of water all slid apart with remembrance of it, of Tel'aran'rhiod, the unseen world, the world of dreams, waiting just the other side of sleep. Okay, so she brings up ter'angreal. So we know that ter'angreal are one mechanism to enter the dream world, and you don't need any other talents. Is there something else, Drew, about using ter'angreal to enter Tel'aran'rhiod that people should know? What are the nuances of using
so there are two different types of ter'angreal. Well, possibly three different types, but that's treading into the real realms of theory. There's the ring that Egwene uses, which does not require channeling. And then there are several other ter'angreal that are introduced in the Dragon Reborn that do require channeling and produce a reduced presence in the world of dreams. And then there's the accepted test, which I maintain is a portal to Tel'aran'rhiod.
I like how you threw that one in there. Yes, other various ter'angreal that access it in multiple different ways, right? But this is an interesting point that you brought in there. You said, oh, now I can't remember the word. You mentioned presence. The people, reduced presence, by the way. Awesome phrase. That's the phrase of the night. Reduced presence ter'angreal. Oh my gosh. What do you mean by reduced presence? If people are watching this like...
They're not as substantial in their appearance. They're kind of misty, a little incorporeal. And because they are actively channeling to make themselves go in, their flows in the world of dreams when they channel are basically ineffective.
Okay. I'm going with Greg here. Reduced presence. Now, Zool, I'm going to break your brain here. Unless when they got there, if they believed that they didn't deserve a reduced presence, they believed they deserved a full presence, could they make themselves have a full presence with a reduced presence ter'angreal?
You know, I wonder if they were strong enough at that point to see themselves as corporeal within the world of dreams. They would probably have to exert so much will that they probably couldn't do much else, because they're very incorporeal and seem to have not much reduced ability to affect things within Tel'aran'rhiod. So I would think that they would probably almost have to have a talent, at which point they wouldn't even need the ring or the ter'angreal in the first place.
Yes, that's true. So yeah, that's an interesting point. Mixing. Oh wow. So mixing someone that has a talent to enter, which we'll talk about here shortly, with the reduced presence ter'angreal, could they overwhelm that and make a more solid connection? But if they use that versus falling asleep, or versus just entering it. In other words, would they even use that? If they had a good enough talent, they wouldn't even need to do that. So yeah, great question. Miss Sarah James said in chat, which I have to say, no, Matt, I think it's a flaw of the connection. This is a legitimate potential criticism of using belief to overwhelm the potential flaw in that connection. Drew, you were going to say something with that.
Yeah, in the books, we get comments on this specific type of ter'angreal from the Forsaken who were around for their creation, and they called them tools for students. Like they were specifically made to be less than the real thing because they were using them in the Age of Legends to train people on how to enter the world of dreams and interact.
True, but I would suggest if you wanted someone to train to use something, you'd give them something with reduced power to force them to have to learn to use belief. You wouldn't have it just naturally happen with the ter'angreal. So I would say
I see it as like training wheels, you know?
Yeah, I think it is training wheels, but what you're saying to them is like, yeah, you can't do much here unless you learn. What you're trying to teach people with Tel'aran'rhiod is will, right? You're trying to teach them the power of that will. And so you give them a reduced capability tool to, like, as training wheels to force them to have to do something that wouldn't naturally come to them. That's kind of why I'm pushing this idea.
Right.
We don't have to stay here very long.
That does make sense because it would be easy for an Aes Sedai to, as we see throughout the series, to default to using the one power in the world of dreams rather than using their will to enact changes around them.
Right.
And so by giving them this tool that doesn't really let them channel, their channeling is ineffective in the world of dreams. They have to learn to use that will.
Yeah.
I also saw it as a buffer because it is such a dangerous place, which we should discuss.
Yes.
That it's a buffer, kind of like you can have angreals or sangreals that have buffers in them so that you can't channel so much that at once that you will burn yourself out. That this is a buffer that you can't be there so solidly, spirit-wise, I mean, you know, consciousness-wise, that you can be affected physically and hurt or even killed.
So
So
do you
I
guys
think that
recall,
like, go ahead.
when they have the utter disaster with all of the Saldar Aes Sedai in their training session, do you recall if those Aes Sedai came out of, like, you know, the Trolloc cookpots and the rack and all that with injuries in the real world? It's been a long time since I read.
You know, with
Chaos.
like burned hair and
Oh, that's right, because Carlina
did have
chops her hair off. Yeah,
because it gets fried or whatever, and they did have to be healed of their because I think part of that too is that idea of belief. They believed in this nightmare so deeply that it sucked them in. They believed they were really there, and they believed that they were really being boiled alive or skinned or on the rack or whatever that was happening to them. And so their injuries therefore were more significant, I think, because of their belief.
Yeah, so this is the fun thing. This doesn't get talked about enough, which is just how far you can take this question of belief. And I love that, Zul, you added in this idea of, like, what if you have a talent plus belief? You know, because you're gonna naturally be capable of some things. Plus, you know, it's like almost like a bonus to come in with a talent because you're gonna be able to do basically anything like Perrin showed. Like, it's just a weave, but also just have some natural gifts in the dream world, which he also has from, you know, the wolf power. So let's jump on to, sorry, ter'angreal is a whole, we could probably do a whole show on ter'angreal access to Tel'aran'rhiod. I'm going to read the second quote here, unless either of you have it. It's about talents. It's from 1996, East of the SunCon. It says on Dreamers and Dreamwalkers, if anyone else wants to read that one. Otherwise, I can read it. Let me throw this one up. Maybe Drew on this next one. We'll cover physical next. Lord of Chaos, chapter 34. We'll do that one third. It's I'll have you read that one, but I'll read this one. 1995, East of the SunCon. Robert Jordan said, on Dreamers, Dreamwalkers, and Prophetic Dreams, he said that the ability to interpret one's dreams, enter Tel'aran'rhiod, and meddle with other people's dreams were different talents. This is an important note. I'll read it again. On Dreamers, Dreamwalkers, and Prophetic Dreams, he said the ability to interpret one's dreams, enter Tel'aran'rhiod, and meddle with other people's dreams were different talents. A really, really important key because Dreamers and Dreamwalkers different. And a lot of people kind of merge them as a singular talent. And even Prophetic Dreams. And he called out Dreamers, Prophetic Dreams, and Dreamwalkers as three distinct kinds of talents. Anything stand out to you that hearing that, you know, Zul or Drew, that you want to add to this concept of these talents being so separated?
So I think it dovetails really neatly, comparing the experiences we see Egwene have and the experiences we see Perrin have.
Yep.
Because Perrin has soul talents, if you want to use the Aes Sedai term, or abilities that allow him to enter Tel'aran'rhiod and to see and interpret prophetic dreams, like, in the clouds. But we don't see him go into the Gap of Infinity and enter other people's dreams. Right. Whereas Egwene can do all three. And there are implications that not all of the wise one, not all four of the wise ones we meet in Shadow Rising can do all of these as well. Some of them do have prophetic dreams. They can all enter Tel'aran'rhiod. They can all enter other people's dreams. It's like it's easy to just look at it through the lens of Egwene and say, oh yeah, it's this package deal. But when you dig down a layer, you realize some people have two of the three. Some people may only have one of the three. We see tons of the Forsaken. We know some of them enter with gateways in the flesh, but it could very well be that some of them are only Dreamwalkers.
Right.
Yes.
I love that. Yeah.
But
anything to add there? Yeah, go ahead.
We don't see Perrin waking up and saying, okay, I had these dreams, which are just normal dreams, and these other dreams, which are prophetic dreams. I know they are. Whether or not I can interpret them is another story, which we see Egwene really struggle with, especially at the beginning.
Is Perrin in Tel'aran'rhiod when he has the prophetic dream stuff?
Yes, he sees like the clouds.
He sees them in the clouds.
Yeah, which is really weird. Sorry,
I talked over you there, Sir Zul. Go ahead. You were continuing a thought there.
No, it's just that it is part of that thing. It is different to be a dreamwalker versus a dreamer. And you can just be a dreamer without being a dreamwalker. You can just have prophetic dreams in your own dreams without being able to enter Tel'aran'rhiod and move around like we see our four Aiel wise ones have the ability to all enter and move around within Tel'aran'rhiod and other people's dreams.
Yeah, I'm just hitting on something with this conversation that I don't know that I'd connected before. I'd always made a huge deal about the fact that some of the Aiel wise ones had seen the future in their dreams and had connected it with and sent a letter, right? Like, you're going to show up on this day. These things are going to happen. And I would always thought that was like a dream-walking talent. Dreamwalkers had this talent that they could learn if the Aiel wise ones would show them how to do it. Now I'm realizing maybe there's just some of the Aiel wise ones that have prophetic dreams as part of their dreamwalker talent. They're dreamwalkers with prophetic dreams. And so maybe the way they experience prophetic dreams is what we're seeing evidence of. And so, in other words, you think about how you can mix and match these. That might be why all dreamwalkers can't do that, but some of them can. And maybe that group of Aiel wise ones is together because they all know that they can, and they kind of check each other's dreams to try to kind of compare and contrast when they walk. In other words, you see what I'm saying? So they might not be dreamers. They might be dreamwalkers with the prophetic dreams talent. So anyway,
it's so tough because we never get to see it from their point of view.
Yes, absolutely. That. Well, of course, because Jordan, it's an OP thing, right?
Yeah.
But I love the fact that they had different ideas of when she would come, and also I always thought that some of their prophetic ideas of this might have come from their own first trip into Rhuidean, right? Where they go through the ter'angreal and they see all these different possibilities, and they don't remember them all, but they will remember a few significant ones. And they might have each had different details, like of these are the possibilities, because that's what they see is possibility through their futures. And so some of them might have had slightly different details, like they didn't know whether or not land would be there, and if land didn't come, it would be disastrous, or whatever it is they say. And so they all had a little bit different details, but they all agreed on the right day.
Yeah.
So I will admit that is a possible interpretation, which is, and I saw Doug spoke about this right as you were explaining that, which is you could potentially mix the prophetic or the prophetic dreaming nature with something that they'd already experienced in those ter'angreal,
Sure.
in that first experience, and somehow they're accessing, because of their talent through Tel'aran'rhiod, it's accessing the things that are going to happen that they saw there. So there's kind of like the data is there and it's accessible because of the talent. I granted, I think that's one of them. I just think though that a prophetic dreams talent mixed with Dreamwalker is almost an easier way to get there, if that makes sense. But I can see it both ways for sure. Okay, I sorry. I think hopefully we didn't lose everybody there. That was fun. That was a fun mix. Let's. Okay, so we just talked about how the two ways to get in so far that we've discussed are ter'angreal or talents. So that's a way to get in there. This third way here, and Drew, I don't know if you have that one. Let me throw this one up. I want to say this one is well, let me see. Let me put this
Lord
up.
of Chaos.
Lord of
chapter
Chaos.
34.
Yeah, go ahead and read that one.
And this is Egwene.
She channeled briskly.
Yeah, she channeled briskly, flows of spirit woven just so. The air shimmered in the middle of the tent along her weave, cloaking the other side in mistiness. If she was right, she had just created a place where the interior of her tent was so similar to its reflection in Tel'aran'rhiod that there was no difference at all right there. One was the other. She took the bundle under one arm and stepped through the weave, then let go of Sidar.
Yeah, so what would you call this as an entry point? Just gateway?
Yeah, entering in the flesh via gateway.
Yeah, what's interesting, I don't want via gateway, because we're going to talk about the next piece. Yeah. Channeling to get in.
That's the important thing, yes.
The channeling entrance into, because potentially you could say a ter'angreal that creates a gateway in, so could be other, you'd need some kind of powering mechanism, of course, for people that can't channel the one power. But yes, I like that you point out channeling to create So
interestingly, if she created a gateway there, that means that someone else could go in with her. It wouldn't have to be just her. She should be able to bring other people in with her.
She
physically.
Could.
Presumably, yeah.
I mean, she's able to bring in her physical possessions, and that is the only way to get, permanent items in there. You can't. One thing Robert Jordan does say is that you can't create something permanently with your mind within Tel'aran'rhiod, but you can bring it in and you can leave it there, and it's going to stay there until some physical body comes in and takes it and leaves with it.
Yep. Yeah. And that's, I can't remember if I have that quote. Do I have that?
You do.
Quote?
You have that one.
Do I? Okay, good. Because we're going to talk about that one here, talking about the power of Tel'aran'rhiod here shortly. But I did see people brought this one up. You could gate in the flesh. You can also, and I like, by the way, Amy's the wise one. Amy in chat said that was evil, which is so on point. So well done. Entering in the flesh is evil. That's right. Is it actually evil, Drew? Do you believe that entering Tel'aran'rhiod in the flesh is an evil thing, or do you think it was just a warning people off from trying it because it's dangerous?
I think it began as a warning people off thing, or a play on the series-long theme of stories twisting over time to become myths and legends and becoming things that they weren't when it began. And it was just knowledge that the shadow used this to go in. So they said, well, that's evil. You lose part of your soul. And things got added on over the years. I don't think it's actually evil. I mean, we see plenty of people... Plenty of our main characters enter Tel'aran'rhiod in the flesh, and as far as we can tell, Egwene being evil, jokes aside, there are no lasting effects. Rand does it, Perrin does it, Egwene does it.
Yeah, I see it as dangerous. There's potential here. M.R. Howley in chat just said it is soul corruption. It's possible. It's very possible that there's some negative effect of entering it in some way that's now kind of, no one remembers exactly why. It's just like, don't do it. It's scary, it's evil, And so I could see that coming from some actual reason of why they would call it evil. Again, maybe some type of corruption. It's possible. Anything to add there, Zool?
I mean, I had always wondered if the overuse of it, you would somehow lose little bits of your soul. We do get warnings from Hopper of being, in the dream too strongly, but that's actually dreaming, not going there physically. Like maybe worried about the separation of the soul and the body is a possibility there. So that seems to me more potential for evil than actually going there physically. I always thought, it must be that evil people were doing it all the time, and therefore it's evil. Don't do it. So
I saw this comment. I have to ask you both. Is this true? Davika just said in chat, doesn't Zen Rand call it evil as well? And I honestly, I tried to look it up right now, but I don't think I'm gonna be able to find it. So yeah, that's a good question. I'm curious now. After this live stream, I definitely want to find out if that's possible. If that quote's in there. So if someone has the quote for it, that's a great thing to add on here, because again, not that it means it's true. It just means that another authority figure from the Age of Legends would have good reason to say that, and probably, some kind of reason to believe that. Let me add this fourth quote in here of other ways to enter, because we haven't brought this person up. 2005, Robert Jordan's blog. Robert Jordan said, "Oh yes, Slayer just chooses who he will be when he steps into or out of Tel'aran'rhiod. The stepping in and out is part of the mechanism for his change. He couldn't do it in the middle of a street, say, not without the stepping in or out, which might be a little noticeable since he would vanish from sight for a perceptible time. Slayer just chooses who he'll be when he steps into or out of Tel'aran'rhiod." What would you call this as a way to get into and out of Tel'aran'rhiod?
So I can't remember if this is still just theory or if it ever got confirmed, but this is the two soul method. Mm-hmm. That the only two characters who can do this are essentially bearing two souls at one time.
Oh, I don't think it got confirmed. I'd be surprised if that got confirmed. Yeah, that's it. I'm totally looking this up while we're doing this live, because why not?
Well, if it hasn't been confirmed, this needs to be asked of Maria and Brandon Sanderson.
I know Maria had an answer at JordanCon, I think in 2018 or 2019. It was either in the notes panel or the unanswered questions panel, where she talked about the forging of Perrin's hammer and confirmed that Hopper's soul was forged into the hammer.
Okay.
During that process. And that was why she loves the Raymond Swanland cover of Towers of Midnight so much, because in the flames coming off of the hammer is a wolf's head.
Is a wolf's head.
Yeah. By the way, I just looked it up. Again, we're live, and I can't read every quote. I couldn't see anything immediately that would say that. So, yeah, I like that theory that the tool soul connection somehow enables this, but the mechanism of it doesn't say gates out of. It doesn't say anything like that. It just says steps in and out. Yeah. So again,
because here's the thing, we know he can't channel, and that's the thing that makes he's so different, because when we were talking about Egwene going in physically, she's channeling. She embraces Saidar and makes a gateway, basically. So, and we know that he cannot channel, yet he does have two souls. So I don't know if that just gives him a stronger connection, allows him, maybe one part of his soul or something lives in Tel'aran'rhiod all the time, and so therefore he can hop in and out. I don't know.
I like that idea. We know that souls at some level, souls go into Tel'aran'rhiod upon death. We know it happens with wolves. Right. And it could be that the Luke Isam thing is just like a shadow perversion of that.
Mm-hmm.
Amy's the wise one just said, you know who else steps in and out of reality? Myrddraal. I love it. Oh man. Let's just keep talking about this all night.
Yeah.
Let's not stop. We haven't even opened call lines yet. There's so much to go through, everybody. So we probably will, but it's not going to be right at this moment. I should ask you both. If you're here, again, reminder, please do like this video so other fans can find this afterwards. This is basically as geeky as Wheel of Time gets.
Yeah.
Is we're talking speculative nuance of the use and entry and exit of Tel'aran'rhiod based on the existence of potentially two souls and maybe some random talent. Yeah, this is awesome. I love it. I say, these are great ideas.
And we haven't even talked about the gap of infinity.
Oh,
and
gosh.
going
Yeah.
into people's dreams.
Okay, we're getting there. We are so getting there.
Yay.
Yeah, I love this. This is just like, this is basically a night at Jordan Con on the couch where we're just chatting about this stuff. So,
Yeah, I was gonna say this is straight Sunday night couch con.
yeah,
Hey,
this is good stuff. Love it. Friggin' love it. Okay.
22 up there.
Oh yes, you coming?
Yeah.
Jordan Con? Anybody else showed up? Yeah, awesome. I can't wait to meet you in person.
Yeah,
That'd be awesome.
next year starts on my birthday. It's gonna be a time.
Sweet. That's gonna be awesome.
22nd. There you go.
Okay, so let's keep going. Let's keep digging into this. I do want to point out this quick theory before we talk about some of the power, and then we'll get to the gap of infinity. If you don't know what that is, don't dream shards. We're making our way there. Ruth just said gap of infinity. Yeah, we're getting there. We're absolutely getting there. But I want to point this out about Slayer, which would make some sense if you look at that whole concept of entering in the flesh. Maybe what they mean by entering in the flesh is not the gateway into flesh. Maybe that's been changed over time. Maybe it is this idea that dreamers eventually, if they learn their talent and can understand it, can step in and step out of Tel'aran'rhiod. In other words, maybe it's a talent, and that's the thing that actually is the evil, which is somehow, in other words, that's the thing that I'm warning you of, not just like opening a gateway and walking in, but it's actually the stretching of that dreaming talent to eventually just being able to not be, maybe it's because you don't know where you are. Nothing becomes real. Everything's, Tel'aran'rhiod. And again, maybe that's somewhat what Rand has. Anyways, okay, there's well, that's not that.
Opening that can of worms.
I just threw that out. I threw that out there on purpose because I'm mean and ridiculous. We can't go there. Okay, let's go into this one because I think this is going to blow everyone's mind. Let me give you. Do either of you have the quote about the three oaths? I don't know if you have that one handy, Zool.
Oh,
it's the Wapmania one.
Yeah, let me find it real quick.
I
You got it?
do.
Okay, Dana, you got it? Okay. So let me post that one up. This one's
I do, yeah.
okay, this is a Wapmania one.
this-
So go ahead. This is talking about the oath rod. Go ahead and read this question and answer from Robert Jordan.
Okay. This is on Wapmania.
Yep.
What happens to objects left in Tel'aran'rhiod? Could an Aes Sedai free herself from the three oaths in Tel'aran'rhiod by creating an oath rod? Robert Jordan. The only way for an object to enter Tel'aran'rhiod would be for it to be carried there by someone who entered physically rather than through a dream state. If left there, it would remain until it was retrieved by someone else who entered physically. And yes, an Aes Sedai could free herself of the three oaths with an oath rod created in Tel'aran'rhiod. But remember that relatively few sisters actually have access to the world of dreams. And for those who do want to remove the three oaths, sisters joining the Black Aja, there is the oath rod in the White Tower to serve that purpose.
That's right, everybody. Read that again. I'll read this part. And yes, an Aes Sedai could free herself of the three oaths with an oath rod created in Tel'aran'rhiod.
Yep.
Let that settle in. Let's talk about belief. I feel like Robert Jordan just wanted to really hammer this, that basically anything's possible. I mean, it's close to that, right? I see us all shaking our heads. Drew, why is your mind blown with this one?
Well, first off, I just want to say I miss Wapmania.
That's a good call out. Yeah.
But yeah, the implications of this possibility are actually pretty crazy for even just for the events in the series, where there are, Robert Jordan in the quote kind of hones in on the idea of Aes Sedai, not many have access to the world of dreams. But even that aside, those who would be interested in removing the oaths, the Black Aja, well, they already have access to the regular oath rod, so why bother? But we see characters get bound with another binder.
Yes.
If Galena got her hands on a ter'angreal that allowed her access to Tel'aran'rhiod, well, Tharava's going to have a real bad day.
Okay, so Zool, I have to ask you this question.
Yeah.
can I create the Horn of Alir in Tel'aran'rhiod and blow it, and will the heroes show up?
The heroes are already in Tel'aran'rhiod.
They are in Tel'aran'rhiod, but would they like just show up next to you and be like, "What are you blowing the horn?" Again, think about all the ter'angreal you could create
Right.
in Tel'aran'rhiod and then use potentially, and have effects. What this is saying is it has an effect on you that persists. So creating an effect that persists. Moghedien talks about this, right? Doesn't she always say, like, every time you'll enter Tel'aran'rhiod, you'll be a horse or something? Like, she's like threatening Nynaeve or something like that. And this idea that you could create a lasting effect on the person in perpetuity, maybe until they broke it with their own need. But go ahead. Yeah, Zul, you were thinking something.
Yeah, I think, we do see the idea of what you think is what's important. So if you believe that whatever this ter'angreal that's been created here has actually affected you, then it will. So I think that is the key there. So if someone creates an oath rod and actually believes this is going to, take away my oaths when I swear on it, then it will. It's just like if I create an Adam, and put it around someone's neck, and they believe that I really have them collared and they can't channel and they don't know to use their will to make things happen, then they're going to think that they can't channel. And that might persist into the waking world, or maybe they can never channel when they're in Tel'aran'rhiod.
I've got one for chat here. Can you go into the world of dreams and believe yourself a warder bond?
No, because a bond would have to go. So if a person was with you,
two people.
Yeah. So if the person was with you, so you're saying, okay, yeah, I see.
So
the game
you blow the
playing.
horn of Valir, summon the heroes for a little dream party, and then you bond all the heroes to the horn.
Nice. I love it. Oh my gosh, this is. Oh, I was thinking, like, could you will yourself into becoming a hero of the horn? Like, you're in Tel'aran'rhiod. Could you believe yourself into becoming a hero?
I don't know if any human will is strong enough to overcome the weaving of the wheel itself.
Yeah, go ahead, David.
Right. There is something. There was a question where I think Robert Jordan was asked if someone could, like, to extend their life, go into Tel'aran'rhiod and somehow persist because of maybe time differences or whatever. And he was like, he didn't really have much of a solid answer on that, but I think that would be almost like trying to will yourself into the same existence that the heroes have in Tel'aran'rhiod.
Right.
And I don't see that happening.
But everyone's having fun with this, which is great. Like, I'm seeing, like, people's heads being, like, crazy. They're like, what? Now that we're on the topic of the horn.
I saw one comment about the topic that shall not be named. We were getting awfully close to it.
Are we close to is it Gap of Infinity? Is that the topic?
No.
Close to? No.
Getting pregnant in the world of
Oh,
dreams.
yeah. We should address this. This is a good point. But I want to point this out. Andrew said Robert Jordan didn't say that they would leave. He said, and yes, and Aes Sedai could free herself of the three elves with an oath rod created in Tel'aran'rhiod. But remember that relatively few sisters actually have access to World of Dreams, and for those who do want to remove the oaths, they would do that with the one in the White Tower, saying it would have the same effect, but why would they use it? So I still think that that's pretty locked. Yeah, I think that's solid to say that that's persisting afterwards. But yes, let's talk pregnancy. We're here. Why not bring it up? There were questions to Robert Jordan. Basically, there was a question from a fan that said, I don't have this, was like, can you get pregnant in Tel'aran'rhiod? And Zul, you said you found an answer from Maria on this kind of question. What did Maria say?
And
when we say Maria, we mean Maria Simmons. She was an assistant to Robert Jordan. She goes to the JordanCon convention and actually is on lots of panels and talks, and that's probably where this thing came from. So go ahead. Sorry for cutting you off.
Right. And so her answer was paraphrased, basically, you can get injured physically, so why not? Like, things can happen to you physically that persist. So why not?
Maria, what are you doing?
I know that was like I need to find this quote. I don't like that's the quote we need to.
I'll go look for that because I have a fair idea where it is.
Okay, if you can find that one,
So
because
y'all
I'm
talk
like,
amongst yourself. I'm gonna look.
I'm like, oh my gosh, yeah. If you find it, it seems like something like that would be like the arrow, right? It would have to persist outside of Tel'aran'rhiod, and it was created there. But there's this whole question, like if you can remove oaths that are actually,
Well, I think there's
found it.
Oh, you found it? Okay, go for it.
It was an interview at the Memory of Light signing, and someone named Christine said, "Do pregnancies that occur in the dream world carry over?" Maria Simmons. If injuries carry over, then why not?
So I have 2 points for why not.
Okay, go for it.
Go for it.
One being that it is essentially the creation of matter, and we already have, other than the bloody arrow, I think you could make yourself pregnant, but upon stepping out, it would undo itself. Like, whatever.
Okay, here's the problem I have.
I have a question you don't want to answer.
It's
but
the fact that it involves a soul.
Yeah, that's my second point. Like, again,
the fact that it involves a soul is where, even if you could say, okay, these two people were there, not physically, but their souls were there. And you have what, soul sperm going to, to make pregnancy happen. I mean, you can get blood on somebody, right? That happens to Perrin. He gets the blood of someone on him when he is in the dream world, and he wakes up with it on him. And so you could say that the other bodily fluids could possibly come from another person. However, there has to be a soul involved with the person. Yeah. And that's where I think it would fail.
Soul sperm is that is where we're at, folks.
Like
from a deep dive, that is basically as deep as you can go. I love seeing people get innovative with this stuff.
You said deep,
so,
really?
So here we go. What if you entered, you entered in the flesh, then you had people bring you food through gateways, and you stayed there, and you willed yourself to be pregnant and gave birth in Tel'aran'rhiod. Could you take that person out with you?
I think it comes down to the soul thing. Like, is your will strong enough to override, to force the wheel to do something?
Yeah, I mean, Moghedien was able to access the. Moghedien made a soul give it a body. Pool. Yeah.
So here's my question about that pregnancy: were two people there physically?
No.
No, you don't need a second person for it.
You just will.
You're just willing yourself.
Yeah.
Pregnant? No, I don't think so, because to me it's still the soul issue.
Okay, we'll move off from pregnancy. This was a fun one. Hopefully. Okay, let me ask everybody. We can open the call lines, but do you really want it open, or do you just want to hear us continue to talk about this stuff? Give us a thumbs up if you just want us to keep talking. Thumbs down if you want to take a call or two and get on here, and we'll kind of go with whatever the group here in chat tells us. If we see the preponderance of thumbs up to just keep talking and don't worry about this, then we'll do that. If we see a lot of thumbs down because people want to talk, we'll see what we have. Let me throw up this third quote about the power. This is an important one. People get this one wrong. So let me point this one out. DragonCon 2005, Ted Herman, Winespring brother, good friend, asked Robert Jordan, how was Nynaeve able to channel fire at Ravine while she was asleep? When Nynaeve and Moghedien battle Ravine, she channeled fire at him. But according to Moiraine, you can only channel spirit when you're asleep. Robert Jordan said, in Tel'aran'rhiod, you can channel everything, even though she's asleep. If she was not in Tel'aran'rhiod and she's asleep, spirit is the only thing she'd be able to channel or hold on to. But having stepped into Tel'aran'rhiod, in Tel'aran'rhiod, she is able to channel. Her body is still back in, would only be able to maintain spirit, nothing more. Trippy.
So this is where I think the training ter'angreal really comes into play, because while somebody is asleep and actively channeling spirit into the ter'angreal to get them into the world of dreams, they can still weave all 5 powers, but it's basically ineffective. You can create a flow of the sharpest air ever, and it won't even cut a piece of paper. You can channel as many flames as you want, but it won't burn anybody. But as long as you're not asleep and channeling spirit already, and you enter Tel'aran'rhiod with the ring or through a gateway or just because you have the talent, then you can channel in the world of dreams to effect.
Yeah, and this confuses people. And admittedly, if you read that quote, extremely confusing.
Yeah.
The body back in the real world that's asleep only can channel spirit. The consciousness that is in Tel'aran'rhiod can channel all of them. And so it's very confusing. So I just wanted to cover that one. Yeah, Zool, go ahead.
However, you can only do that if you are a channeler. That is something I found in one of the quotes. You have to already be a channeler. You can't just imagine that you are channeling. However, you can imagine the effects that channeling makes, and therefore it's just a weave.
Right.
Okay.
So these are your two opposites. You have someone who can actually channeling in Tel'aran'rhiod, balefire, and then you have someone who cannot channel but has the instinct side of it, and instinctively, basically just bats it away and says, it's just a weave. So
can you, if you're by the way, I love this turn to do like a can you stream. It's awesome. Okay, so you are burned out, right? You are a burned out channeler. You have the dream ter'angreal. You go to Tel'aran'rhiod, and you believe that you are no longer burned out. You believe that you can channel. Can you, just like having, for example, oaths taken off of you, can you receive or have the ability to channel again? Do you believe that that's possible?
No. I'm going to say no. I don't like it.
No.
You mean can you then wake up and not be burnt out anymore?
That's
Is that
correct.
what you're saying?
Yes.
Oh, definitely not.
You can't. You don't think you can affect your waking body that way?
Yeah.
I mean, you can injure your body. Why can't you? Your body has the injury. In other words, physical things can happen to your body. Why can't it repair? You're saying I can't heal a wound?
You can't heal yourself. So
Tel'aran'rhiod couldn't?
Yourself healed. That's what I'm not sure of. I mean, I know in the physical world you can't heal yourself. Like you can't make weaves that will then affect yourself. However, I don't know. That's a good one.
I don't know.
I don't like it.
I'm not sure.
I don't like it. Okay, so I want another quote to blow people's mind here. This one's fun. And again, Robert Jordan just puts this stuff out there and we're like, whatever. We try to understand this. Here we go. From the USA Today interview, 2004. I love that it's the USA Today. Like only back then would USA Today run an interview, I think, about the geekiness that is Wheel of Time. Anyways, Laurel asks, in the Fires of Heaven, after Rand has his battle at the end, why is it that balefire works for his friends and not on his bites that have to be healed? Robert Jordan said because his injuries occurred in Tel'aran'rhiod, and what occurs there is different than what occurs in the waking world, different rules apply. And that wasn't the balefire one I was hoping for, but yes, that is an interesting one, I think, of and of itself. Why do you think, Drew, that balefire, this idea of balefire doesn't apply to people and the things going on in Tel'aran'rhiod? Do you think that is a time gap situation? In other words, the time it burns things back in real waking world time doesn't necessarily apply because maybe he's not within that gap that balefire is rewinding.
It's tough to reconcile that since it did bring Aviendha and Mat and Asmodean back, and those happened before the fish in Tel'aran'rhiod. So even if time moved differently in Tel'aran'rhiod, Ravin was still balefired in Tel'aran'rhiod. I don't like this.
I don't like this.
This feels like another one where Robert Jordan was like on the spot and was like, "Oh, I don't remember."
I
I'm just
doubt
gonna say
this was
it
on the
doesn't.
spot. I bet
Because
you he replied to these. You know,
Like I still like the theory that when he wrote the Fires of Heaven, the fish were actually made by Demandred, and that.
By the way, you can't just like apply a theory that Robert Jordan just debunked in this.
Okay, what fish I'm not. I'm fuzzy on what fish we're talking about. Oh, well, like fish that he created water with fish around.
Yeah, in
around
Rand's,
him, and he got bit.
Yeah, there were like needlefish or whatever they're called. Like Robin turned the
okay,
whole
kinda like
courtyard
piranhas.
into water.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. The theory is that other people did it, and that's why it didn't go away. That was an explanation we were all trying to come up with in fandom of like, why wouldn't it? None of us assumed, oh, Balefire different with people in Tel'aran'rhiod, but yeah,
I mean,
there we go.
It's really tough to figure out any kind of like how these different rules apply, because this is the only time we see this happen.
That's true. Okay. Zool, anything to add to those kind of crazy pathways? I want to bring us back again to a foundational discussion. We're going to get into Gap of Infinity and Dream Shards here shortly. Do you have anything to add to the craziness that was just our conversation?
No.
No, I feel it. Like, by the way, I saw Chris Moorhead said I need to do a Tel'aran'rhiod quiz after this. Yes.
Yes.
That would be fun. And I'm not going to say this for any other reason than like I'd love to take a look at those questions and answers because I totally dig this. I dig the canon around this. So yeah, if you do one, keep me in. I'd love to know. Okay, I don't have these quotes up here for people to see because, like I said, there's so many quotes that we've read to you. But let's step back because there are so many pieces to the World of Dreams, or we thought there were. Robert Jordan kind of shot us down in 2005 in Dragon Con. We're like, hey, are all these other unseen worlds all part of the same unseen world? And he was like, no, they're separate. So we were like, that sucks. So we wanted like a unified theory, and he didn't give us that moment. That's fine. But when we talk about the Gap of Infinity, we're talking about the place where Egwene sees all the dreams of all the worlds. And the quote is from Lord of Chaos. It's chapter 14. And it's a vast blackness filled with twinkling pinpricks of light, more by far than the number of stars in the clearest sky, each sharp and distinct as far as the eye could see. Formless, there's a ... because I cut out a little spot there. Formless, she floated in the infinity between Tel'aran'rhiod and the waking world, the narrow gap between dream and reality. You see, narrow gap between dream and reality, and formless, she floated in infinity. What happened was, those of us that were online talking about the Wheel of Time at the time were like, I'm not writing formless infinity between Tel'aran'rhiod and the waking world. We were just like, on Theoryland, we came up with Gap of Infinity. And we started calling it the GOI, the GOI.
Yep.
And we actually asked, one of my favorite moments with Robert Jordan is when we asked him about the Gap of Infinity, and he goes, excuse me? Because he had no idea. He was like, what is that? And we had that moment as fans like, now we have to explain something to the author. You know, it's that place between Tel'aran'rhiod and the waking world, that narrow gap between dream and reality. You know, and he was like, oh, okay. We caught him up on what we were talking about. But Gap of Infinity, there's a lot to be said for this. But an important piece for those that are watching, this is dreams of all the worlds. Mm-hmm. We're talking any world that exists that has dreams, mirror worlds even. Worlds in parallel dimensions, all the worlds. This is where a dreamer with this specific talent, not all dreamers, as far as I can tell, can access this. From what Robert Jordan's saying, lots of talents give you access. But Egwene does have access to all the dreams. And we do see that Ishamael, also who's a dreamer, has access to them. So I'm seeing lots of thoughts here happen. Drew, maybe I'll go to you first. You want to say something, go for it.
I want to say I need another drink before I get into this. I will be right back.
Good. Run away.
Yeah, exactly. Zool, any thoughts on the Gap of Infinity, in your research for this, or any questions that you have about the dreams in the Gap of Infinity and what access they have?
I find this like so fascinating because all of these little pinpricks and dots are people, and it's not just the people from what I consider the prime material plane. You have people from other places that are so strange that Egwene couldn't even have imagined those in her wildest dreams. Like, she peeked in, because that's the fascinating thing about this, is that you can actually peek into people's dreams. And when Rand learns to shield his dreams, they become like this hard, opaque, surface around his dreams, where the wise ones can't peek on his dreams anymore.
Right.
And I love the fact that you have the danger. It's dangerous to get too close to or look at the dream of someone for whom you or they have a strong emotion, whether it be love or hate, and you can get sucked into their dream.
Yeah.
And that dream can be attracted to your consciousness.
Yeah, I love that Jordan has done this, right? He didn't make the Gap of Infinity part of Tel'aran'rhiod. It's that place between those worlds. But obviously, it's the dream that kind of rises up and touches Tel'aran'rhiod, right? There's like this space, and depending on how close, it can kind of touch it or stay away further, and you stay in your dream. But dreams are extremely powerful. To me, this is one of my favorite things he did. I don't know if there's other worlds just like this out in other fiction, but really, really, really well-developed concept of variations on dreams, and like you said, warding your dreams, and how someone in that Gap of Infinity experiences that, and how they can be pulled in, and who's in control of those dreams, and talent. It's a really, really cool topic in and of itself. Probably another show topic, But yeah, I loved what you had to say there.
And there's a lot that can be done with dreams. You can pull somebody out of their dream into Tel'aran'rhiod or a dream shard or something, if you have that talent. And you can actually, if you're strong enough, control what happens to someone in their dream. And we've heard that what happens in a dream, if you swear something in a dream or something is done to you in a dream, it can be have a stronger hold on you. We get this from Ishamael, so may or may not be true because he's a liar. I don't know.
Yeah,
so it's really fascinating what can be done with dreams.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely fascinating.
I think it's really cool how knowledge we acquire about the Gap of Infinity later in the series has implications for things earlier in the series, where there is, I guess depending on how you want to view it, whether it's a dream shard or if Ishamael entered the boy's dreams. But if he entered the boy's dreams, we know Ishamael had a big hatred for them. They were raised with a hatred for the Dark One. There is going to be, at some level, that dangerous attraction in the Gap of Infinity for Ishamael.
Yep.
And it's either a testimony to his strength as a dreamer, or a testimony to maybe he wasn't actually as insanely angry and mad as he gave off.
Yeah, and that's an important thing to bring up to people that might not know this, right? And I think Zul did bring this up, which is you can find other people's dreams if you learn how to find them. And very much the people that you are actually physically closest to in the real world, those dreams are actually relatively close to you. So if you're dreaming right next to somebody, finding their dream is relatively easy. If you're not, but you have a connection to them, an emotional connection potentially, I wonder if there's maybe a soul connection, a familial blood connection. I wonder if there's anything, we don't really know for sure that that's the case. But obviously there's a connection between Ishamael and Lews Therin in some form or fashion. So them being able to find each other, or ta'veren probably... Do we know this? Do ta'veren show up in the Gap of Infinity in a different way? I can't remember. I thought they did.
Egwene does see Rand's dreams at one point, but I cannot recall.
I thought there was something like that.
There are two people who have specifically mentioned who have a talent for finding ta'veren in the dream world. And that's Moradin and Lanfear. So
maybe it's,
potentially this is how... Potentially, this is how Ishamael found the dreams of the three boys to either affect their dreams or hook them out. But he didn't know which one was the dragon reborn.
Is that info from the books? I don't
And so
think
he's
I've
trying
ever.
to figure out. No, that's in. I found it in Theoryland. It was
Okay.
in a statement that somebody made.
I've never heard of that. Little tidbit there. That's really cool.
I wonder if it's a theory that we substantiated with a quote. Let's take a quick break. I want to thank Marissa Swank here. Thank you very much for the tip. Marissa said, "Thanks for such a great nerd chat tonight, folks." I really appreciate the tip there. And yeah, thanks to my guests. So you guys are awesome. And I want to also call out, I think it was Hybrid Havoc. Thank you very much for the tip. Hybrid Havoc said, "The Gap Infinity is the API, how the creator of Dark One or similar entities interface with the Wattverse." Yes, I love thinking about the Gap Infinity as an API of sort. Oh, maybe though. Yes, the Gap Infinity is the API to the database, which is all the dreams. Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, that totally works. Yeah, I love that idea. I know Zul, you're still looking for that. Let us know if you find it.
Yep.
I want to point out something important here, and again, we'll step back. Gap of Infinity. There's so much going to happen there. Dream shards are, if you think about them, constructed dreams, right? They're manufactured dream spaces in the Gap of Infinity. Like, let's say Morden creates a dream that he can control, and then he can pull people into it. Mm-hmm. And then they can control basically everything about that. Now, you can also pull people into your own dream and have some level of control over them too. Luz Theron talks about even in a dream shard or other people's dreams, you can assert yourself. Again, a will, belief concept where you can still assert control in those situations. So I like that some of the aspects of Tel'aran'rhiod belief still work in dreams. I like that this idea of belief and will actually probably comes from dreams, right? Like, it's the dreaming nature of will and belief that you can change what your reality is in your dream. It's just a non-permanent reflection is the non-permanent reflection of that ability. So I love that Robert Jordan did that and played with that. Sorry, I just got on a little soapbox about that. I just love that.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, that's just really cool. That I often think of like Tel'aran'rhiod. That's the will and belief side, but no, it comes from the dreams. So I think that's a lot of fun. And then we'll look to see if there are any questions about dream shards in chat, but I want to jump back to Tel'aran'rhiod itself and point out something that is absolutely 100% true. Travel within it. You can use Tel'aran'rhiod to travel to alternate dimensions, right? You can, through need and will, find you can go to another world's Tel'aran'rhiod and then exit out potentially by entering in the flesh and moving that way. So it's really becomes a mechanism of travel, and it's somewhat how I believe that I want to say the portal stones I thought were built on, no, maybe it was the ways that were built based on study of the portal stones. But I would say the portal stone worlds were probably initially found through Tel'aran'rhiod. They're all connected. Rand could have technically, right? He could have gated into Tel'aran'rhiod and made his way back to the waking world. But that's probably a danger. Oh, maybe this is the danger of the flesh thing. How do you know you're in the waking world? Maybe if you thought yourself to the waking world, but you actually thought yourself to a mirror world, you would not know if it was close enough to reality. Anyway, that just hit me of like, how would you actually get back? Anyways. Okay.
Well, that's terrifying.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a little bit terrifying. I love it.
Yeah,
though.
it is terrifying.
Sorry. Any thoughts about dream shards, travel in Tel'aran'rhiod? Zul, I don't know if you're still looking that up. Maybe to you, Drew. Anything you want to add there?
Sorry, my cat just tried to knock over a glass.
People are talking about lucid dreams right now. Yes, exactly. Brando just shouted out Shadesmar and Cognitive Realm was definitely influenced by Tel'aran'rhiod.
Oh yeah,
those come from Brandon's.
I almost made a Cosmere joke earlier when you were talking about connection between souls. I was like, is this capital C connection investiture based? Like,
yes. The idea of Tel'aran'rhiod, I don't think it was ever used. Robert Jordan used it a lot. I just don't think it was ever used the total potential of it. Similar to what Brandon did when he innovated with using gateways on a battlefield. It'd be really interesting to see what people came up with Tel'aran'rhiod and all the rules in other writings. Maybe we're going to get an Age of Legends movie. Maybe we're going to get some other things. I'd love to see what Moghedien and Lanfear of those ages might do in Tel'aran'rhiod that hasn't really been explored in the books. So
yeah, I was always fascinated by that, the fact that while Lanfear is the daughter of night, Moghedien was a little more adept
sure, yeah,
than she was at manipulating the world of dreams. And I wish we'd gotten to see a little more of it. We did get to see Moghedien do some pretty crazy stuff, especially with Brigitte, but I kind of wish we'd seen more.
yeah.
Like a Moghedien versus Egwene like showdown. Ooh, that could have been some good stuff. Or Perrin.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Right. You get you get some strong people against them and match them up in Tel'aran'rhiod. That would be good.
So anything else? I saw this question from chat. We didn't do calls tonight. I know hopefully some of you were like, shoot, I really want to talk about this. This is not the only time we'll talk about Tel'aran'rhiod. We'll probably pick some of these topics, dig in a little bit deeper. Like I said, there's a whole 60, 70 other quotes about Tel'aran'rhiod that would be a lot of fun to kind of dig into.
Yep.
So, and yeah, I don't want to just randomly open call lines now, and if we've told everyone we're not, and then only take one call. We've gone beyond kind of where we planned to go today. But any final thoughts? Anything that we didn't cover that would be fun to cover next time? I know we had an entire outline of all sorts of fun things to discuss. Questions from those in chat. I'm kind of curious. Maybe we'll end it with that also while you two think if there's anything else you wanted to add. Are there questions about Tel'aran'rhiod that we didn't answer tonight that you would like to hear us answer? I'm kind of curious. This one I want to ask you both. Here we go. I saw it. While people are asking us this, is it possible, is it ever been canon determined, is it possible to destroy a soul completely in Tel'aran'rhiod? Has it ever been stated that in like canon versus suggested in the books?
So I don't think so. The only time we would have had evidence for that to happen is Hopper, but Hopper's soul did persist and merge with Perrin. Whether that was a unique circumstance,
Right.
Yeah.
or I mean, obviously the wolves believe that death in the world of dreams is permanent death.
Yeah, they do. There was a question to Brandon about that, and he started. I think he started to raffo it, and then went back to that thing of Hopper. So it wasn't. I don't know if it was conclusive. I don't remember, but he did talk about it. But it was kind of like, and you know what? It might have been Matt who asked this question.
It's possible.
To Brandon. And then he started to be like, no, and walk away. And then he was like, well, wait a minute.
Yeah, so Robert Jordan pushed hard against complete destruction of a soul. Even when he talks about the souls of Trollocs, he's like, well, that's like it's like a really sad looking soul, like that's been kind of warped, but we give them to the Trollocs. The full destruction of it, even the Dark One holding on to a soul, even when you think about Machin Shin and all these other things.
Balefire.
And people talk about Balefire, but Balefire doesn't destroy a
Right,
soul, right?
exactly.
People always
At
think
first
it
it was-
might, yeah.
Yeah, at first it was thought that it did destroy it, but then Robert Jordan has it that it will get eventually, spun back out by the wheel. It's not destroyed completely.
Yeah,
It's just,
Balefire.
it can't immediately, it goes back far enough that it can't come back into the body or something.
Yeah. A lot of people interpreted the fact that like Balefire could prevent the Dark One from reincarnating the Forsaken as, it destroys the soul. But really what it is that the Dark One has this brief window to grab a soul after death, and Balefire burns the thread of a person's life backward, and that causes the Dark One to just miss his window.
Yeah.
Right.
I want to pose then one question to you about this, because this is what I do. What was so terrifying about what Moghedien did to Brigitte if nothing was going to... Like, okay, she makes her go into the human world, and then she's disappearing, and then she returns to Tel'aran'rhiod, the soul pool. Like in the end, what was the damage that Moghedien was planning on it doing to her if when she was sending her into the real world was just her going to then disappear and go back to Tel'aran'rhiod.
I think that's made clear that there wasn't, it really wasn't actually a really dangerous situation, because we see Birgitte get killed in a memory of light, and then she just goes right back in and gets called by the horn.
So that's what I'm saying, is I feel like there was like some dissonance of what Robert Jordan was showing us there into the rules of canon. Because for those of you, we didn't talk about this, heroes do exist in Tel'aran'rhiod. That is a quote I don't have here, but the heroes do exist in Tel'aran'rhiod. And there is a concept of a soul pool, or an afterlife, if you will, that Robert Jordan speaks about. But yeah, to me that was always like a weird thing. It was like it's a broken canon kind of question, because I think
I didn't see it as like too much of a problem. I just saw it as a really good bit of character writing, playing on the theme that Robert Jordan had been using all series, where characters believe things that are not necessarily true, and so we still feel the tension, we feel the fear and the urgency of Elaine and Nynaeve as they're trying to keep Birgitte alive, because they think this is the end if they don't get it done.
Okay. Right. And Birgitte believes it as well, obviously.
Yeah.
You know, and she believes that she's somehow, maybe her soul has been somehow disconnected from being a hero, and she won't be spun out. She says that she won't be spun out into, you know, as a baby, to be there when Geidel Kane needs her. She's always spun out later, and she's like, well, my soul's not there to be spun out. So that probably would have happened if she had continued to live and not be killed.
That's also a good point.
So, by the way, I love Nick. Nick said, it's classic Forsaken seeming bad, but failing in execution. Yes, there you go. That's ridiculous. But
a little more mustache twirling.
Yeah, it's. I always, if that would have been her death, honestly, I would have preferred the books that she had as soon as she died, that she was gone, and that would have been more impactful to me than what Moghedien had done. Did have an effect, and that's why they have the rules that they have for the heroes, which is like you can die permanently if you mess with this, and so you should wait and follow the what do they call it? Not the pact, the precepts. Thank you. Yeah, follow the precepts, and you didn't, and this is why forever the story of Geidel Kane and Birgitte is going to be gone from the wheel because you failed this. And I was like, when she went back to it, I was like, oh, that's not as exciting.
It's kind of like a Chekhov's gun that didn't.
Yeah, and Jordan's good at that. Like, he has so many of those set up, and some of them not going off is fine. And so I like the ideas that you guys all came up with. Okay, I think. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
So, what about the possibility, like, she was bonded in order to keep her alive? She was bonded by Elaine. What if that somehow kept her soul like gave it some permanence by giving it the bond? Maybe if she had died right then, and she would have believed that, you know, I don't know.
I don't know how to pronounce the viewer's name. I don't know, because it looks like it's a different language. Kagri said basically it was to give Elaine something cool. Yes, I accept that premise too. Like, how can we get something cool for Elaine so Elaine's cooler? I like that idea. Well, by the way, thank you very much for watching this. Hopefully you've liked this video already. If you haven't, please do. And please do subscribe if you have not. We'd love to have you a subscriber here at the Dusty Wheel. Like I mentioned, this Friday, we are live. We're going to be covering the Rafe Judkins at Comic-Con panel, all about the Wheel of Time, live here at the Dusty Wheel. Nablus and Daniel Green will be with me here talking about whatever drops, whatever that is to drop. So please do check back here. Drew, before we let you go, what's going on at Inking Out Loud, your podcast? If people want to, follow you, what is it you're covering now?
Yeah, so we are closing in on the end of The Gap Cycle by Stephen R. Donaldson, which is one of the most intense science fiction series I've ever read. It is very dark, but it's very good. However, the really cool thing is after that, we're diving right into the Dresden Files. Nice. We've had overwhelming demand for this one, and finally decided to take the leap. We've already covered the first book with Megan from the Legendarium as a special guest for that one, and yeah, so we're going right into book 2.
Awesome. Oh man, Dresden, I wish I had time to read books and follow podcasts and stuff. Someday Someday we'll get back there. Yeah, thank you very much, Zool. You were amazing. You did your research. Really appreciated you diving into that. That is a huge amount of stuff to kind of pull out like knowledge and try to connect all the dots to each other. So very much appreciate you putting the time in and being with us for the first time here. How did it go? How you feeling?
Feeling pretty good.
Good.
You know,
good.
I'm not a Brown, so I didn't like have all my research like, you know, just right there at my fingertips, but it was fun, and that's the point.
Oh yeah, the whole point is to have fun. Yeah,
it was fun.
As you can tell, like we're just riffing on like speculation.
Yeah.
This whole thing was like, what do you do with this data that Robert Jordan has given us? If you watch this afterwards, you're not with us live. If you've gotten this far, please do leave in the comments or after the video. When the video is done, please leave a comment with any questions that you think we didn't answer, anything you disagreed with. Kind of curious if you thought we got it wrong, or anything you'd like to see us tackle here moving forward, all about Tel'aran'rhiod.
Right. What's
your speculation about any of the questions we came up with? That was that was so much fun. I'm trying to think of like, what was the hashtag? Oh yeah, soul sperm. There we go.
Soul sperm. Hashtag soul sperm.
That's right. So thank you all. Thank you to my guests. Thank you that watched us live. That was so much fun. And like I said, be with us Friday. And we're talking more about the Wheel of Time, and whatever they drop about the show, that's going to be a blast. Okay, that's it, everybody. Oh man, I love talking about this stuff. How did 2 hours just pass by? It just like flew by. So thank you, everybody. And as we say around here, before I say that, I just remembered. Check us over on Discord live after.
Come to Discord.
Show. Yeah, come to Discord. If we have an admin there, they can leave a link. If we don't, that's okay. Go look at the description of the video. There's a link to Discord. If you want to join the conversation, you want to keep this going, have comments, please meet us over there on Discord. Okay, I think that's it. Taylor, is that it back there?
Yes.
Taylor's done too. Okay, everybody. As we say around here, good night from the Dusty Wheel, and smash to black.
Welcome to the Dusty Wheel.
Hey, welcome back to the Dusty Wheel.
You went right to kill it. Look at you. You're already. You're just done. I mean, this is like this is
really well. And now I'm like, great, my turn.
And if you don't like that, you want to say, well, Robert Jordan could have made the two rivers all white. He could have, but he didn't. So
just complimented me on my dress, and as you can clearly see, I'm not one.
I see Nakomi as something along the lines of a Shadow Haran analog.
It does make sense why it outlasted the breaking.
Yeah.
See, this is why I have Therese in the show, because she's going to correct everything that.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Dusty Wheel Show. What? Meme Off Challenge! Yay!
Like baby face mounted on like a huge body. So like all of a sudden,
this is not just
like,
a traditional fantasy, right? There are sci-fi
and
elements.
Just a moment ago, Rafe tweeted something. So let me get my guests in here with me, and
probably I would say put in 70-80% of the work. I got to be over the shoulder and be like, no,